Help give kids an extra life by donating today to help sick and injured children. Link in the description and pinned comment below. When you consider that Sword and Shield was based on the United Kingdom, it makes you wonder why Decidueye, a Robin Hood Pokemon, was in Gen 7. Well, this has certainly been a year of big anniversaries, am I right? Zelda's 35th anniversary, Metroid's 35th anniversary, my 10th anniversary, and, well, how could I forget Pokemon's 25th anniversary? My first countdown of the year was a Pokemon collab, and I figured since we're getting Pokemon Brilliant Nendoroid and Shining Chibi, not to mention Pocket Monster Hunter next year, hey, why not do another Pokemon list? Granted, this is pretty late to do a list of my favorite Pokemon from the 8th generation, but Sword and Shield definitely did a few things differently. This was the first mainline game on a console, and the first to get full DLC expansions, which was part of the reason I put it off for this long. But you're here for all the stuff that Galar has to offer in terms of its roster, aren't you? And my reasons for liking these Pokemon are a lot more than simply battle, as I've made clear in previous such lists. I'll be waiting for you in the wild area. Bring the berries and I'll bring the spice, and we'll be eating good today. It's game time! Spring is such a nice season. When it finally arrives, that is. I mean, you have official winter, the second winter, the fake spring, the resulting third winter, and eventually get to the real spring when the flowers can finally come out. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is anyone here allergic to pollen? I'll admit that you won't likely see Eldegoss in competitive play, but as an early game Pokemon, this flower was a trusted companion on my playthrough. I really like the design of this evolutionary line based on British windflowers, evolving from this tiny little blossom into this poofy-headed babushka with a cute granny smile. It's like how windflowers grow, and when they reach full bloom, their seeds go all cottony and spread on the wind. It's got a certain rustic charm that I can't help but admire. It's not all that hot in battle, I'll admit, with middling stats, and it's not really all that good at attacking, despite having moves like Leaf Tornado and Leaf Storm, but it does have some capable support moves like Aromatherapy, Cotton Spore, and Cotton Guard to supplement your story team. I also like some of the background behind this thing. Its seeds are apparently packed with nutrition so that when it spreads them, other Pokemon can benefit. Its cotton has also been used to spin a very special yarn that's used to make local fabrics. Be sure to support your local small businesses, especially if they have sustainable business practices. Every generation has its fair share of Pokemon that are mainly there for the purpose of being cute. And every generation has at least one pupper. There's typically a good degree of overlap between the two. And now with Gen 8, we have this adorable little fluffy puppy! Yamper is a Pokemon that I love based on its design and personality alone. I mean, its evolved form Boltund would be the one to look at if you want to talk about battle properties, and even then its stats aren't all that spectacular, with its speed being the only thing that really stands out, not to mention its type coverage is, for lack of a better word, lacking. So why would I have such love for the pre-evolved form of a substandard Mon? Well, look at the little guy, it's just a cute little corgi! The adorable, happy expression on its face is just so endearing. It's got a freaking heart butt, and the way it crackles when it runs and wags its tail is just so charming. Apparently, this lovable loaf is popular as a herding dog, primarily for Wooloo, but being the glutton that it is, it only works because it expects treats afterward. I mean, puppy's gotta eat, and it's a growing Mon. I also love how playful its personality is, reflected in its ability Ball Fetch, which has it pick up a Pokeball the first time you fail to catch a Pokemon per encounter. I really don't know what else to say, this little guy's just really, really cute. One thing that changed with Sword and Shield is that in lieu of a sister game slash sequel series slash AU games, we got an expansion pass that included not one, but two new scenarios, the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra. Each one brought back more old Pokemon and introduced a few new Galarian forms, and each one featured at least one new Pokemon. The Isle of Armor featured a story straight out of a martial arts movie. Well, more like a duology. After part 1, where you undertake the trials of your sensei Mustard, you get a pupil of your own. And it's this cute little butt kicker. I mean, Cub Fu just gives off those Karate Kid vibes you could take to the car wash. You know, wax on, wax off. And I appreciate that they set up your time with Cub Fu as basically one big martial arts training montage. Fighting alongside you, following you to your next training session, bonding with you as you look over the horizon, it's a thing of beauty. You are basically training your Kung Fu student as it reaches for greatness. And as the journey comes to a head, you have a choice to make. 2 towers, 2 elements, 2 styles. And your choice will determine which version of Urshifu it will evolve into upon completing its great trial. On the one hand, you may seek the power of darkness and unlock Single Strike style, a behemoth which seeks to crush its foes in a single mighty attack. This style is based on Tiger and Leopard style Kung Fu, which aim for decisive strikes embodied in the signature Wicked Blow attack. Or you can follow Bruce Lee's example and be like water, gaining access to Rapid Strike style, which turns Urshifu into Kenshiro, and is based on Crane and 7-star Mantis style, signified by the multi-hit move Surging Strikes. Either choice is a fitting conclusion to this young grasshopper's journey of discovery. But with every end, comes a new beginning. So now let's talk about the gimmick of the year, Dynamax. While this isn't really a mechanic I see moving beyond this generation, they at least give an in-story explanation about why it's exclusive to Galar. And in concept, the idea of turning your Pokemon into kaiju-sized titans is pretty freaking awesome. Not to mention a good excuse to include raid battles into the game. And one example of a Pokemon for which it worked for me was Dreadnought. The latest in a long line of turtle-based Pokemon, I always thought Dreadnought looked pretty damn rugged. Fitting given its rock-water typing. Specifically, this is based on a species of turtle called the alligator snapping turtle, especially that massive underbite it's got. All the better to chomp down on its opponents with. Thanks to its signature jaw lock, once it has an enemy in its jaws, the poor bastard ain't getting loose. Strange that it's a dark-type move, though. And once the hapless victim has no means of escape, Dreadnought can just pound it with any number of hard-hitting stab moves from Liquidation and Razor Shell to Head Smash and Stone Edge. Not surprisingly, its 2 main abilities are Strong Jaw, which powers up those already impressive chompers even further, and Shell Armor, which protects Dreadnought from crits. Appropriately enough, that shell isn't easy to crack. Its stat distribution positions it as a physical juggernaut with powerful physical attack and tough defenses. And that's not even taking into account its Gigantamax form. Once it supersizes, it becomes the size of a warship, and it hits like Gamera too. Not only does it pack all the max moves expected of a behemoth, but its signature G-Max Stone Surge combines Hydro Pump with Stealth Rock, so everyone gets a taste of the big hurt. A literal dreadnought of a Pokemon.
Let's see Shredder try to deal with this big guy. One-way ticket to Rusty Bucket Bay if you ask me.
Sun and Moon introduced us to the concept of regional forms, which gave certain Pokemon new appearances, typings, and battle properties. It was a cool way to put a new twist on some old favorites, and some of these variants decisively surpassed their originals. Unlike Z-moves, this gimmick made sense to bring into Sword and Shield. This time, however, some of the Galarian forms were topped off with brand spanking new evolutions. Farfetch'd finally gets an evolution, a thematically appropriate one at that. Galarian Yanmask has you jump through more hoops than a circus seal. We got Charlie Chaplin over here. And then there's this Gene Simmons looking ass dork over here. Got the tongue sticking out and everything. I was already getting some serious Kiss vibes from the Galarian Zigzagoon line, but Obstagoon hits the comparison on the head with a sledgehammer. The markings on its face with the black and white fur are pretty much a dead giveaway. It's also really good at screaming. Even works it into its battle style. It taunts its enemies into attacking first, then unleashes its signature Obstruct, blocking the attack and lowering the opponent's defense by 2 stages. Then you can take advantage of your opening to hit your enemies harder than a base drop with an assortment of physical moves. Its base moveset isn't the most varied, but there's a lot of TMs that it can use to take advantage of the enemy's crippled defense. Definitely helps since its base defense is slightly higher than its attack, but its potential moves give you an opportunity to really go in and rock out.
That, my friends, is what we in the community like to refer to as My Jam.
Legendary Pokemon are really something else. Titans that rule over the elements. Earth, sea, and sky. Time and space. The balance of life and death itself. And then some. Sword and Shield's legends are heroic knights, bravely defending their homeland from an unknowable evil. Some of you may be saying that Pokemon can't be evil. Look at this thing and then try and say that again. I hope all you Poison-type lovers are proud of yourselves for making your deals with the devil for your first legendary of the type. With the eldritch horror that is Eternatus, you'd think we'd gotten a crossover with Granddaddy SMT. Imagine a dragon decomposing beneath the earth for 3,000 years, then a greedy CEO decided to become a freaking necromancer because he was thinking too far ahead of the game. And this is the unspeakable threat that brought Galar to the edge of destruction during the darkest day when it came to Earth on a meteor. Yeah, I can see why. Terrifying special attack, gargantuan HP, and fearsome speed, combined with a move pool that can absolutely ravage opponents between its base moves and its TM selection. And since it gave the region the power of Dynamax, it comes with a built-in counter that tears Dynamaxers apart. That alone is powerful enough. But you know how traditional RPG final bosses tend to have a second form? Yeah. The origin of Dynamax contains within its being the power's most primal form, Eternamax Eternatus. Maxed out defenses, the same fearsome speed, and both attack stats over 100, adding up to the first ever 4-digit BST. And that terrifying form, a demonic claw with serpent heads for fingers. It would take the divine intervention of the legendary heroes to take down something like that. I'm guessing someone at Game Freak was a fan of Okami. And just what is it about 3,000 years ago? First the War of Kalos and now this? It seems like with every new generation, Game Freak keeps finding ways to smash two types together into unlikely combinations. From Grass Ice with Abomasnow, to Fire Water with Volcanion, the list of unused type combinations is growing fewer and fewer by the gen. And Galar is no different. One of these new combinations brought a new fan favorite to the stage, ready to crank it to 11. Do you wanna rock? Well, Poison Electric may well suffice in that regard because Toxtricity is a one-man show with a set list that melts faces all across the region.
If Obstagoon looks like Gene Simmons, then Toxtricity could be considered to be Mick Jones or Paul Simonon from The Clash.
Honestly, that design just screams punk rocker, which is nothing but death and crime and the rage of a Pokemon. That posture looking like it don't give a shit, the rock guitarist mohawk, and the way it strums the frills on its chest like a guitar, yeah, you're getting a performance whether you like it or not. And it comes in two styles, amped and low-key. Amped form is the lead guitarist, aggressive and high-strung on a 6-string guitar, charging up its attack and speed before Venom-shocking you to death, while low-key is the bass guitarist, taunting opponents before poisoning them, debuffing them with Venom Drench, and charging up its defenses. The cool part is that the form you get depends on its nature, which is a unique touch that I really like. A mixed attacker, it can get up close and personal, while also capable of putting your lights out from range. And with its signature punk rock ability, its sound moves are dialed up even further, not only ensuring that moves like Uproar and Hyper Voice can blow out eardrums from miles away, but also amping up its signature Overdrive to the top of the Billboard charts faster than you can say London Calling. And that's not even taking into account its Gigantamax form, which absolutely dominates the stage. With enough electricity to power a sellout concert, and poison enough to turn its punk into acid rock, it'll smash its literal electric guitar into your face with its G-Max stun shock so hard, you'll either get paralyzed or poisoned. Pick your album. Either way, it'll be sick. One thing you can count on in every generation is that there will always be a bird Pokemon to catch early in the game. And they've been a mixed bag. For every Talonflame, there's a Toucannon, and for every Staraptor, there's an Unpheasant. And it's just as well that we go from glam rock, to punk rock, to pure metal. Once upon a midnight dreary, this bird makes foes weak and weary. Corviknight will leave them teary as they're writhing on the floor. From a wee little chick, this bird becomes a force that will swoop into battle and smite all its foes before you can say Excalibur. God save the queen? More like God save your opponents once the cold steel wings of this ravaging raven unfold. Just look at that imposing design, that jet black plumage and its piercing stare strike fear into all who stand against it. And yet, it's also a superb flyer and fairly intelligent, and it's the power behind one of Galar's foremost forms of transit. Yeah, hello, your Uber's waiting outside. Okay, Smogon says it's OU tier, but you get the idea. And a strong set for battle as well. You ever wonder why a group of crows is called a murder? A physical tank with solid HP and defenses, it has a lot of tools to endure many kinds of threats, and deal it right back in kind. Let opponents waste PP with its pressure while waiting out the enemy with Roost, clear terrain hazards with Defog, make use of that defense to crush opponents under your weight with Body Press, not to mention plenty of stab options like Steel Wing, Drill Peck, Brave Bird, and Heavy Slam. You've got plenty of options to leave your prey in the grip of your talons. And when you want to be extra scary, that's when Corviknight's Gigantamax comes in. This form glows red with all that Dynamax energy. Even comes with drones called Blade Birds. Combine that with a G-Max move that combines a souped-up Defog with the damage that comes with G-Max moves, and you'll have good reason to crow.
If you take this Raven lightly, you'll be left depressed and sore. Quote the Corviknight, nevermore.
For the honor of Grayskull!
What? I couldn't use He-Man's phrase because Zacian is the feminine one. As one who tends to be proactive, I chose the Way of the Sword as my path through Galar. As such, I was led to the Sacred Altar, where Excalibur lay in wait in the noble jaws of the Great Wolf. As the big sister of the hero duo, Zacian cuts through all and leaves no evil standing. During the darkest day, this canine crusader stood alongside Zamazenta to save all of Galar. And now, 3,000 years later, as history repeats itself at the hands of the zealous Chairman Rose, it returns to set right what has once again been made wrong. And when it grips the rusted sword in its teeth, it carries the power of a Godslayer. A physical powerhouse with top 10 attack and speed, a wide range of type coverage, and an ability that raises its strength even further the second it steps onto the field of battle, it stands at the apex of the tier list as the only member of AG that doesn't even need a form change to reach the Pantheon. And the numerous resistances it gains with the Steel type added onto its very base type, including negating a previous weakness, assures that no one will knock it off that perch. But its true strength is shown against the very threat it fought against centuries ago. When it holds its sword, Ironhead becomes Zacian's signature move, Behemoth Blade. With this mighty force, Zacian can cut down the mightiest of titans with naught but a single blow. I like how both Zacian and Zamazenta are introduced to you so early in the story as well, and their return is foreshadowed throughout the story as you unravel the mystery throughout the game, and just when things look hopeless, they have their big damn heroes moment helping you save the day. It's just so satisfying!
And honestly, it's a nice twist in getting to fight alongside the legendaries without having to fight them first. Granted, you fight them later, but...
And before we move on, here are some honorable mentions. Calyrex, Dragapult, Sirfetch'd, Inteleon, and Phalanx. And now let's see what my followers have to say with this month's patron picks.
Hatchling, I really love this Pokemon with high special attack that covers Psychic and Fairy, making it a good 4th Witch Pokemon.
This is probably the first Pokemon that is a primary fire and a secondary bug type. Not to mention, its Gigantamax form makes it look like a dragon. Already that earns a bit of coolness points for me.
You know, I liked Galar's starters, to be quite honest. I mean, I've never aggressively disliked the starters from any generation in particular. There's always at least one really good one. And hey, as a little treat, you get your first buddy from the big champion on campus this time. It's like if David Beckham gave you your first soccer ball as a kid, knowing you'd one day face him in the Premier League Championship match. Meet my first round draft pick. And the MVP of my team. Yup, in this house we stand Cinderace, kick it live, and set the field on fire. Ever since Score Bunny stole my heart with that cute little fist bump, I knew right then and there who was going to be the captain of my squad, and my bond was rewarded with a World Cup performance that roasts defenders and seasons them with nutmeg. While opponents are dealing with burns in the nurse's office, Cinderace is popping champagne and holding the trophy high with pride, relishing in the cheers of the crowd. A born athlete, full of energy, this rambunctious rabbit is brimming with power and ready to take on anyone. The very image of a soccer star, Cinderace's design strikes that balance between adorable and badass, like it's saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna be awesome and look cool doing it. And it has the moves to match. With amazing attack and speed, its skill as a physical sweeper is undeniable, with a wide move pool spearheaded by 2 signature moves. The blistering Pyro Ball, which scorches opposing mons faster than you can say red card, and Court Change, which gives it total control over entry hazards, turning your enemy's Stealth Rock back on them. And that's before its hidden ability, Libero. Remember how Greninja dominated Gen 6 with Protean? Libero does the same thing with Cinderace, changing its type before a move goes off, guaranteeing that any attacking move will hit with Stab every single time. So all those high jump kicks, mega kicks, and bounces will do maximum damage to any foe, putting all those moves that Cinderace can learn to amazing use. Plus, the Isle of Armor gave this striker a Gigantamax form that looks like it came from Gynax, and a new G-Max move that can bypass all of the opponent's effects. Simply put, Cinderace is a complete package for me. This was my bunny buddy from the beginning, it stood by me through my championship battle, and simply put, it's my furry fantasista.
And that makes 2 generations in a row where the Fire Starter was my favorite of the trio. As for what the future holds, I hope that Game Freak takes what it now knows about the Switch and uses it to make a more refined game. Hopefully Legends Arceus proves to be another step forward in that regard. I'm the Quarter Guy, and until next time, the arcade is closed.
You know, there's just something special about bubbles. Beautiful in their ephemeral nature, bursting at the slightest touch and yet strong enough to endure fierce winds. Their power to capture the imagination. And sometimes the elements and monsters and whatnot. Wait, now I'm just getting off track. And it appears I've stumbled upon yet another anniversary. Next time, QG at the arcade. Bubble Bobble. It's game time! Hey everyone, QG here. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video around. Feel free to check out my Twitter and my Twitch streams, and consider supporting me through Patreon and donating to my Extra Life campaign to support Children's Wisconsin. Thanks for watching.